There were lessons that Amazon taught you with the MBA school did not.
I think Amazon taught me a lot more than the MBA school. In 2024 December, we took a bold goal to be returning back more water than what we consume in our direct operations in India by 2027. In Delhi, upstream of the Yamuna, we're going to give back 400 million liters of water, this time with hastened regeneration. We are setting up machines and spending capital to set up machines where people can produce sanitary napkins, retail them at half the price of what is available in the market. So these are women entrepreneurs who are making sanitary napkins, making them available to hundreds and thousands of women. Right in the heart of Thane, the mangrove is home to hundreds and thousands of pink flamingos, and their natural habitat is threatened by the plastic waste that flows into that creek. It comes from the various drains from Mumbai. In one of those drains, we are working to fish out 150 tons of plastic. And this will then ensure not only the current generation of flamingos, but their future generations are also protected.
Welcome to a new episode of Planet People Profit. I am your host, Sudipto Day. Amazon has been one of the influential powers shaping the global e-commerce economy. And with those powers comes responsibility towards the environment and adoption of sustainable business practices. We catch up with Abhinav to understand Amazon India's sustainability journey and whether India could be a lab for developing sustainable business solutions at scale. Abhinav, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to meet you.
Abhinav, your journey from a seaman to a startup team in Amazon, is itself a fascinating story. Would you like to take us through, how did you sort of, from a person who has, sailed high seas and landed up in Amazon doing a startup, almost a startup, I would say.
Yes.
In Amazon, in India.
Absolutely. So, thank you so much for the question. I started my life sailing very young, right after school, like most seafarers do. And it was a great, fulfilling career of over 10 years. I finally commanded an LNG ship. And I also worked in freight and commodity risk assurance, both for a company called Shell. Post that, I decided I wanted to come back to India. I was working in London at the time, and I wanted to, be a part of the India growth story. I was deeply passionate about being in India, and I went to the Indian School of Business. At the Indian School of Business, they used to do case-based teaching. They still do. And one of the cases we read was on Amazon, and I was fascinated by the leadership principles. I was fascinated by the way Amazon thought about its business, and as luck would have it, Amazon came to campus that year. Okay. And that was the year that we were about to launch in India. So like you said, I was one of the first 6 hires in Amazon operations in India. And from there on, it's been an incredible journey. I say this to people at Amazon and outside, that probably the only company in the world where you take someone who's come from the sea and trust them to run product and technology at some point in time, and then later scaled operations, because you believe in their ability to solve problems from a first principles perspective. You see that they have the right mindset of focusing on customer outcomes and solving problems, and that's what it's been. So it's been a very rewarding journey for me personally. But what I'm very proud of is the opportunity that I've had to help transform lives and livelihoods in India, and in many ways shape the way India buys and sells. And I say this with all humility, like today we service every single postcode in the country. We reach the kind of selection and the speed with which we reach the entire country is certainly something to be proud about, and at the same time be humble about that there's a lot more to be done.
Coming to the corporate sector, so were there any sort of surprises, shocks, and how did you navigate those challenges?
There were no surprises or shocks because Amazon always has been a very entrepreneurial company where you're focusing on solving customer outcomes. But I would be lying if I said that it wasn't like drinking through a fire hose initially, because I came from when you're at sea, your brush with technology is actually the physical technology of running a ship.
Yeah.
And from a software perspective, you're probably just using email. And from there to come into a technology company, I had to spend time learning, but I had some very amazing managers and mentors. I put in some deliberate effort to get closer to technology and learn from it. What really helped me was a frontline obsession, that truly understanding what it is that we are building for the customer and the delivery associate, delivering packages myself, sorting packages myself, picking, packing, and shipping in our fulfillment centers. That gave me a very good perspective on the real ground reality. And that frontline obsession allowed me to then understand the technology behind all of that. So I would say it wasn't unnerving, but it was a huge learning experience which was aided by a frontline obsession.
So there were lessons that Amazon taught you with the MBA school did not.
I think Amazon taught me a lot more than the MBA school did. I love the school I come from, but I think working at Amazon over the last 13 years has been an education in many ways. One of the biggest things for me is the entrepreneurial culture, customer obsession, the focus on solving for the customer outcome, making sure that you're empowering those who have the passion and the ability to solve problems with all the resources that they need. All of those have been lessons for me for sure. And in many ways, it relates back to or resonates well with my own personal ethos of a mission mindset. And Amazon's certainly a company where if you have a mission mindset and you have that missionary zeal to solve a problem, the company sort of almost conspires to give you the resources to solve it.
This interesting term you use, mission mindset, and a lot of people in the sustainability world, they use this they believe in that very, they're very close to their heart. You see that, I'm pretty sure when the Amazon was getting launched in India, got started in India, your focus would have been on building the logistics, the delivery, the procurement. How much of sustainability, or the concept of sustainability, was there in your day-to-day operations? And was it something that, could you take us through those days?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So sustainability has been a part of our journey right from day one.
Okay.
Sustainability, while, as we've gotten larger over the last 10 years, not just in India, but globally, we have magnified our efforts because we say that success and scale brings broad responsibility, and we truly believe that we have a responsibility to the society and the future generations to leave the world a better place than when we started. So our contributions, our investments, our efforts have only grown with every subsequent year. But even when we started, we'd worked on the sustainable materials for our building design. We worked on optimal lighting from a design perspective, so you use a lot less lighting in your fulfillment centers and delivery stations. We worked on solar powering our fulfillment centers, sort centers, and delivery stations much earlier, like almost 10 years ago now. We worked on water conservation, whether it was on making sure that we are water efficient in its use, or building rainwater harvesting as part of our building design, or working on using grey water in our toilets and things like that. All of that has been, an initiative that has been a part of who we are. Okay. I'll give you two very diverse examples, right? The first is from the packaging domain. You and I have spoken about this a few times in the past, but just to put some numbers to that, right? Since we started, we've been able to reduce the weight of our packages by 38%. That means that the same packages occupy 38% or have 38% less weight. This has been done using technology like machine learning to optimize box sizes and reduce the air that we ship in packages. It has been done by inventing solutions where we are able to eliminate packaging completely So we have tertiary plastic boxes which are reusable for thousands of trips, which carry packages inside it, so we can reduce or eliminate packaging in many ways. This has been done by making sure that we are inventing different types of paper packaging. Doing all of that, we've been able to reduce the carbon footprint and also reduce the waste at the customer doorstep. That's one example of a packaging effort which has been ongoing and continues to be there for the last 10 years. A very different, diverse example, but equal in impact, if not more, is our partnership with the Indian Railways.
Okay.
In 2019, we became the first company from an e-commerce perspective to partner with them for parcel carriage. And all your fast trains like the Shatabdi, Duronto, all of them have van parcels that carry Amazon shipments with them. These trains are electric. Even from a source of electricity perspective, even if you counter with that, it's still 30% more efficient compared to road transportation when it comes to emission.
Okay.
So that's where, those are the kinds of initiatives that we've been involved in over the last, 10, 13 years that we've been here. And all of it has been the way we operate, and not so much as, we've realized now that we need to give back and let's make some big investments. We truly believe it has to be the way we operate. We took a bold goal in 2019 to be net zero carbon by 2040. We stand by it. In order to achieve it, it won't come through point-in-time investment. It's going to come through making sustainability a part of our operation. It's just the way we need to operate to hit that bold mission. Our track record demonstrates that when we take bold goals, we deliver them. So in India, very specifically, in 2019, we took a very bold goal. We said that by 2025, we will be having 10,000 vehicles in our electric fleet. Back in 2019, you would remember, there were hardly any OEMs who were building logistics electric vehicles or building them at scale. We worked with every single OEM, from startups to scale and large OEMs. We worked with them on the right vehicle design, worked with them on range, worked with them on charging infrastructure, and we were able to achieve our goal 1 year ahead. So by 2024, we had 10,000 electric vehicles in our fleet. The venue that we are meeting at today is another such bold goal. In 2024 December, we took a bold goal to be returning back more water than what we consume in our direct operations in India by 2027. And to do that, we're going to talk about the projects, whether it's the optimization initiatives I spoke about earlier in our facilities, or it is the lake rejuvenation projects in Bangalore, Hyderabad, and right here in Delhi.
Coming to your, you mentioned about 2019 when you had this whole, you chalked out your plan for 2040. That was the time when you signed the climate pledge, if I'm not mistaken,
yes.
Right? So was that part of that whole, did it come as part of the whole journey, the sustainability journey?
So the climate pledge, which we signed in 2019, was designed to get us to net zero carbon by 2040, or was an intent or a bold commitment to get to net zero carbon by 2040. And it is also about taking other like-minded organizations along in the journey, because getting there is a hard path and it can only be done if everyone comes together. And today we have over 500 signatories, and if you talk about India, these are companies like Tech Mahindra and Infosys and other companies who are along with us in this journey of getting to net zero carbon. There is a lot to be gained with idea sharing. There's a lot to be gained by infrastructure sharing. So there's a lot of collaboration which can happen to bring everyone to a stage where we are net zero carbon.
So how did climate pledge, in a sense, have an influence on your day-to-day operations? Like, we're sitting in 2025 right now, and 2019 when you signed it. Has there been any impact on your day-to-day operations, that what you pledged in 2019?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always believe that when you take a bold vision, it kicks off a virtuous cycle. So you then give the organization a North Star to go towards. And It starts with that bold vision, which is to say that we will be net zero carbon by 2040. It then moves on to eager adoption of existing technologies. So the work we did with the Indian Railways, the work we are doing on packaging optimization, the work we did in the electric vehicle fleet, the work we are doing on renewable diesel, the work we are doing on LNG, all of that is about eager adoption of existing technologies. It then goes to helping the ecosystem grow. So the Climate Pledge Fund, which is a $2 billion fund, which is looking at investing in startups, which are in this phase of accelerating the advent of renewable energy or helping in, energy management systems and things like that. You then create new technologies. And then it goes back to taking people along, which is other companies and things like that. That to me completes the virtuous cycle. So when we took that bold goal in 2019, the whole organization across the world started looking to eagerly adopt existing technologies. Started looking for opportunities where we can accelerate technology from getting to a mass scale. Started working with the other like-minded organizations in those countries. And that virtuous cycle is now spinning. So the bold vision, the 2019, it didn't change anything from an ethos perspective, but gave us a North Star to go after.
Is that the strategy which Amazon has been following in its sustainability journey throughout, that you set up a broad vision, a bold vision, and they said, okay, let's go for it?
It's not just about sustainability. It's about any big change you would like to drive. It has to start with a bold vision, which is not just a statement, but a deep commitment to drive a paradigm shift. Whether it's in business or it's in personal life or it's in the government or anywhere else, right? You have to have that bold sort of mission, which is a deep commitment. And from there on, you then find the path. So at Amazon, we have this that we say often, that you have to be very strong on the vision, but you can be fuzzy on the details. So you'll find the right path to that vision, but you have to be firm on that vision to say that that is something which we have a deep commitment towards, and we'll find a path.
It's like a manifestation. You manifest yourself standing on the...
You could say that, yes, you could say that.
Interesting. I'm just curious to understand, because Amazon, going by your MBA literature, has a lot of focus on reducing cost, and there's a lot of drive to reduce costs, improve, operational efficiency. So how do you sort of, balance, building a viable business, a sustainable business solution within that framework? Is that something that has... what are the challenges that you sort of came across, and if there any lessons that you would like to share from that?
I don't want to sort of trivialize the thing to say that it's not true, but it is not entirely true what you said.
Okay.
The perspective that there is...
You're saying it's a myth, basically.
Yes. The perspective that there is a hard trade-off between sustainability and cost of operations is not true. And I'll prove to you with examples. The railways example I spoke about, right? From a per ton carriage perspective, railways is cheaper than if you were to send something by road transport, especially on the long haul. And it is also more sustainable. If you think about packaging from a weight reduction perspective, it reduces the carbon emission, but it is also cheaper because it costs money to provide overpack and things like that. So it is also, an accelerator to the cost. From an electric vehicle perspective, from a operating cost point of view, and also with the support of the government, it is cheaper for our partners to operate electric vehicles vis-a-vis diesel. So where I started with, right, the virtuous cycle, all of this I would put in the bracket of eager adoption of existing technology.
Okay.
And none of this is actually cost accretive. But at the same time, you need to spend money and invest in ideas which you think will have, will be bold later on. And that's where, working on renewable diesel trucks, working on large format electric vehicles, where we have just completed 10,000 kilometers across India with a 32 feet vehicle, or working on hydrogen powered battery storage solutions. All of these are, ideas where we are investing in, which may not have short-term returns immediately, but when we get it right, we'll be ready to adopt those technologies. So what you're saying is not entirely true. The perspective to say the technology is not there for us to be more sustainable, it just costs more, is not the right perspective. There is enough and more existing technology that you can eagerly adopt. And beyond that, you need to invest for the future, and those investments when it's the right time to scale.
So it all depends on the how you scale it, at what point of time you scale it, and
100%. It depends on not just your ability to adopt, but also your ability to find the right time to scale at a large level. And some of these may have a longer term payback. And if that's the right thing to do from an investment perspective, you should do that. So maybe the payback period is 5 years or 7 years, and if it's the right thing to do in perpetuity, is the right thing to do.
I'll come back to you, with more India specific, but I'm a bit curious on the water conservation front, with something that Amazon announced in December last year that will focus on water conservation. And both of us, have this thing, Delhi and Bengaluru, are water stressed. Right. And we have seen that play out in the Yamuna, we have seen that play out in the vanishing lakes in Bengaluru. Right. Could you walk us through what is the water conservation efforts that and the plans that you have?
So, from a water conservation perspective, we already spoke about the work that we do in our own facilities to be more water efficient. That was one part of giving back more water than we consume. But in addition to that, what we are doing is restoring lakes in Bangalore. Bengaluru, the lake you spoke about, is the Yamare Lake on the outskirts of Bangalore. Mm-hmm. This has now had gotten reduced to just a 2-acre pond almost. And from there, we are taking it to more than 20 acres. And we are going to ensure that there is 270 million liters of water, which is generated through this project. We are working with a very able and capable partner in Say Trees, and that's how we do these things, that we find the right local expertise who can then come in and work on it, and we can provide the reach and the capital. In Hyderabad, again, Say Trees is working on rejuvenating a lake which will go from 3 acres to 33 acres and give back 300 million liters of water. In Delhi, upstream of the Yamuna, we're going to give back 400 million liters of water, this time with hastened regeneration. So another project that we are doing with hastened regeneration, which is really interesting and fascinating, quite honestly, is the one in Mumbai, where, right in the heart of Thane, the mangrove is home to hundreds and thousands of pink flamingos, and their natural habitat is threatened by the plastic waste that flows into that creek. It comes from the various drains from Mumbai, and in one of those drains we are working with hastened regeneration and plastic fisher to fish out 150 tons of plastic. And this will then ensure that not only the current generation of flamingos, but their future generations are also protected, because this plastic can actually cause damage to them, not just from the current flamingo perspective, but it could cause the generational impact for them. So we look for the right, relevant experts who can help work with us on ground to create real meaningful impact.
What about the local context? Because all these projects would need you to be in touch with the locals. Because without the local support, I don't think any of these projects would work.
You're 100% right. And we always say that it is a collective imperative. No one organization, individual, or government can do it alone, and all of us have to come together. So just this project that I spoke about with hastened regeneration, all the employment which is there is of locals who are working on that project with plastic fisher. Similarly in Bangalore, similarly in Hyderabad, And it's not just about employing the locals, but it's also about giving back to the community. Think about Bengaluru, last year, and someone who's staying in Bengaluru, it was so visceral to almost reach the day zero where groundwater was so scarce. Telangana had such a moment. Delhi, like you said, is depleted from a groundwater perspective. And that's where giving back to the local civic society is truly important. And at the same time, work with the local government bodies, make sure that you're working on things that are priorities for them, because their priorities are determined by what's important for the nation, and so on and so forth.
So are we sensing a change of strategy in terms of your approach towards sustainability? Because if I can, correct me if I'm wrong, but till now we have seen a trajectory where you're looking at packaging, you looked at basically something that's connected with your business operations. But here we are looking at Amazon getting connected with the local communities, talking about issues which matter to the communities. So is there a sense of change in strategy that's underplay?
No, not at all. And whether it's in the field of sustainability or in general work with the community, that's something that we've always been doing. So when our first fulfillment center opened way back in 2012 in Mumbai, in Bhiwandi, it opened with a community center where we worked with the local community on teaching women and children computer education. After that, we've worked on massive programs where we have worked, like some of them which I am deeply passionate about. One of them is the Samriddhi program. So you have a lot of government schemes, you have a lot of avenues for people who don't have the resources to avail help from the government, but they don't always have the wherewithal on how to do it. So the Samriddhi program actually teaches people how to enroll for the Aadhaar card, how to avail of the Pradhan Mantri schemes and things like that. Similar to that is a program on menstrual health and hygiene, where we are setting up machines and spending capital to set up machines where people can produce sanitary napkins and retail them at half the price of what is available in the market. So these are women entrepreneurs who are making sanitary napkins, making them available to hundreds and thousands of women. And we're also buying from them for our own facilities for free disbursement in the toilets. And that way creating a virtuous cycle. With this effort, we aim to impact 200,000 women. Another initiative is the Ashray Centers, which is our initiative to provide shelter. Ashray means shelter in English. To provide shelter to delivery associates, no matter which company they work for. So think about the summer of Delhi or summer of Hyderabad or Mumbai, and it's in the middle of the day. Even if you give delivery associates time off, there wasn't a place where they could go, sit peacefully in an air-conditioned environment, get free tea, coffee, and water, and actually take some time off, charge their mobile phone. And we created such facilities across the country, and we are creating hundreds of them, where delivery associates of any company can come and sort of take rest in the middle of the day and then go about their work. So work with the community, working on hyper-local, locally relevant topics is something that we've always focused on. Even in sustainability, like the projects that we spoke about today. So it's about balancing both, making sure that your own direct operations are getting more and more sustainable, and finding the right opportunities to work on in the community. The Right Now Climate Fund, which is one of the reasons why we are able to do all of this in India, has been added even in India for the last many years.
AWS, for example, which is giving the data centers, water has been a bit of a, there's a concern that data centers do guzzle a lot of water. What is the status on that front in terms of, are you doing any specific measures to make the data centers consume more water?
Oh yeah. So one is obviously driving efficiency. While water consumption is important to know, it's not as important to know as is water use efficiency, that how efficient are you in the use of your water, and then giving back water to the groundwater table. And that's what we are focusing on. In addition to that, we are also using technologies like air cooling to dramatically lower the need for water in the first place. In fact, there are data centers in Ireland and Sweden where the water consumption is such that for 95% of the year, there is no need for water. And they're air-cooled data centers. And these data centers use water only in the very hot times of the year, and the amount of water they use annually is as little as what's required for 25 households. So the water consumption, so it's both. So while water consumption, to your point, is right and good to know, what's more important is no matter how much water, how little or how much more you use, you should get more efficient with it and give back more.
Anything specific in India for AWS that you have in mind?
So for AWS at this time, I'm not able to talk about any specific plans for India, but being a technology company and focusing on global standardization, whether it's good ideas, no matter where they are, they will find a way in all countries. There are a lot of ideas from India that have been exported, be it on the way we serve customers or other ways, and similarly in ideas which are generated in other countries come to India.
Interesting you mentioned customers, and customers, how have customers taken to the sustainable solutions or the sustainable products or offerings that, say, Amazon is coming out with? Are they willing to pay an extra price for it? Is that a conundrum that how do you resolve this conundrum? Because a lot of companies we speak to, they say, look, since the customer is not paying extra for what they are getting, there's a sort of inhibition on the corporate India's part, to be very specific, that should he go the extra mile to do something which the customer is still not ready to pay. It's good to do, but not ready to pay extra for it. So how do you balance this conundrum? How do you solve it?
So customers do deeply care about sustainable solutions and sustainable products. We did a survey recently of thousands of customers, and 69% of them came back saying that they care about sustainable solutions and they like the fact that we are working on sustainable solutions, and they would like to receive less packaging, even lesser than the one which, they like getting products with less packaging. So customers do care about it. To your point, I would go back to saying that it doesn't always have to be a trade-off. We need to find ways in which we make sustainability just the way we operate across sectors, lower the cost of adoption of sustainable solutions, and where required, invest. But are customers keen on buying sustainable products and care about their own footprints for the environment? They certainly do.
So you see there's a space where, from a seller perspective, the producer perspective, that they could do a branding, have a sustainability branding, build a moat around that, build products or solutions around that. There's a space for that?
It's certainly my personal view that it is quite possible, and in fact, I would go to the extent of saying that it would be something that customers would like to see.
So you view that, is it possible in India? Or maybe you could explain to us through some examples, is it possible to build sustainable solutions out of India at scale?
So it is, and there are a lot of sellers who are focusing on building sustainable solutions, and the global exports program that we have, which is already enabling multiple billions of dollars of exports. A part of that is focused on sellers who are building sustainable solutions. But the point that you were getting to earlier, that do I see customers adopting it eagerly? Yes, I do. Do I see that as messaging as a differentiator for sellers who are adopting sustainable practices? Yes, I do.
So how do you prepare the ecosystem for that? How do you prepare the sellers, the vendors? Because it's not a one-man show. You need to develop the ecosystem for having a sustainable solution. You develop a sustainable solution ecosystem. Are you working towards that? Or is some measure that's working towards that?
So absolutely. So, efforts like what we're talking about today, right? The Amazon Water Dialogues, the first chapter or the first instance of bringing together policymakers, media people like yourself, or NGO partners, or people who are the true unsung heroes of the country who are working on, lake regeneration or aquifer measurement, bringing all of this diverse, and the industry, bringing all of these diverse sets of people together and talking about things which are imperatives for the future is one way. The climate pledge is another way. Getting into measuring carbon footprint and what it is that the impact of your operations, not just direct operations, but of the vendors and sellers, that's another way. So it has to start with truly understanding the impact that we have and then making efforts towards improving it.
So have there been instances where you have developed some sustainable solution within Amazon and you've scaled it up, taken it to the globe? I'm talking about India specific. And are there examples like that?
I think the railways partnership is a good example where it was something that we, I won't say that it was never done globally, but the scale at which we've done it in India is unique. And it's certainly something that, in other places of the world that we are looking at. That's one example. The packaging-free shipments that I spoke about, where we said that to use tertiary plastic containerization to reduce the packaging required, instead of sending boxes on their own, we were putting them in plastic crates. That was an India first solution. So there are many such examples which were invented in India, and wherever they find relevance from a scale perspective, they are exported.
But are they in practice in any other markets?
Oh yes, so packaging, the packaging solutions we spoke about, there are a lot of markets around the world, specifically Japan, where they've been adopted.
So finally, in terms of building, a business case for a sustainable solution at scale from India, what would be your advice to be it the entrepreneur or the ecosystem developers? What would be the key ingredients of that?
I think that it has to start with a deep passion towards solving these problems. They're very complex problems to start. And unless you are deeply passionate about solving them, finding the right scalable solution is going to be hard. Second would be to find the right existing technologies that you can adopt at scale and build the right solutions for. And then finally, look for people who will be able to invest in this endeavor, who are like-minded and will help you scale. The collaborative nature of this space is truly essential to understand, because you won't be able to change the way things have been done unless you do them together. And so collaboration in my mind is key, whether it is finding the right, so if you're talking about an entrepreneur who's just starting out, finding the right set of investors who themselves are deeply passionate about finding solutions for tomorrow, working with them, adopting technologies that have been successful in India and other sectors or in other countries, and building with that. Those are the kinds of building blocks, but it has to start with a deep passion to do something for the environment because it's just the right thing to do.
So are there any programs from Amazon which are going to support or help those entrepreneurs in the space?
So the Climate Pledge Fund, which I spoke about earlier, which is a $2 billion fund, looks to do just that. It looks for ideas which at scale can accelerate the advent of sustainable solutions, and looks to invest in those. We have a very large initiative for that.
And are there any startups in those programs?
There are startups in those programs, and I don't remember the name top of my mind. I think there are startups from India as well, but there are already thriving startups who have been funded by that fund.
Interesting. Love to hear more about that, and thanks for your time.
Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, Abhinav. Thank you very much.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye.